See, one of the lead game designers of this game said that when he was making it, the first level felt a bit too easy, so he did this to fix that issue. That may look pretty challenging from what I showed on there, however I did edit that in a way that made it look very hard. And I also understand many people who watch videos about Plutonia haven't actually played it, or at least haven't finished the game. So the question we are left with is Plutonia really as hard as people say it is? As exaggeration when it comes to things like this is something you see a lot on the internet. But to answer this question, we probably need a greater understanding of what Plutonia actually is. So let's talk about that. I'm sure that if you're a fan of classic Doom, you have heard of Plutonia. But from what I see on the internet, a lot of people who have heard of it haven't actually played it or really understand what it is. So like I said previously, it's probably best to go over that before making an actual judgment on the game. So, the Plutonia experiment is one of 2 campaigns that came out with Final Doom, which was an officially released expansion pack with 2 32 level campaigns in it, those being TNT Evolution and of course Plutonia. Plutonia was developed by the brothers Dario and Milo Casali, who after making this went on to have very good careers within the games industry, with Dario I believe working on Half-Life.
I'm afraid we'll be deviating a bit from standard analysis procedures today, Gordon.
Plutonia came out on the 17th of June 1996. The competition was pretty steep, with Duke Nukem and Quake releasing in the same year. However, given that we are trying to figure out if the game is hard or not, maybe we should talk about the actual gameplay and what that's like. Overall, Plutonia basically works like most classic Doom games. Spawn in, find a weapon, kill enemies with said weapon, find keycards to progress, press switches, and navigate your way through maze-like levels. I feel like I've said that before in a different video. I have, I think. I don't know. And yeah, anyway, you do all of that to find the exit, which this time is a new model made by the brothers who developed this mod. It's this weird teleporter thing, and it's actually very satisfying to walk over once you finish a level. In terms of enemies, we don't see anything new, but we do see pretty much all the enemies from Doom 2 returning. The weapons are also nothing new. You've just got your usual shotgun, super shotgun, chain gun, rocket launcher, plasma rifle, and of course the BFG. However, certain things with the environment can be a bit weird with how they work. In general, I'd say the level design of Plutonia is actually very good, and usually it's not very confusing and it's pretty intuitive. However, for some unknown reason, certain liquids and floors damage you in some levels and they don't in others, which leads to some rather confusing moments during the game. But now that you have a greater understanding of what exactly Plutonia is, how about we discuss the community's reception to the game, as this will give us more to discuss when talking about if the game is actually that hard. So, what I can gather from much of what I've seen online of people talking about Plutonia, most people think that this game is the equivalent to a Saw Trap, where you have to put your hand into a KFC deep fryer to escape, but the catch is, whilst doing that you also have to fight Mike Tyson, if Mike Tyson had 4 arms, and had the height of an NBA player. But yeah, the reasons for people thinking this game is so hard is mostly the large amount of hit scanners, revenants, and arch files, along with many other fairly difficult enemies that show up quite often throughout the game. Another big thing that people mention is the copious amount of traps. People think of this game's traps as if they were one of those annoying prank videos on YouTube, if the prank was death. Some even point to a few specific very infamous levels, such as Hunted, where you're trapped in a maze with 18 arch files. However, that is just what people say online. Is it really that hard? Of course, I'll be going from my own experience playing the game. I played it on Ultraviolence, and of course from my expert opinion I have come to the conclusion that you all just suck at Plutonia. Of course I am joking, but is any of this really true? Do you all suck at Plutonia, or is it actually very hard? As with many things, the internet may not always be right. I say after using Google to gather 90% of the information in my videos. Cut that bit actually, that makes me seem really not credible. But anyway, because the internet isn't always right, I am using the most reliable source of all, myself. Anyway, here we go. In terms of the game's enemies, yes, there is a lot of hit scanners. Mostly chain gunners and shotgun guys, as the normal zombie men don't really show up that often, because it's like getting shot with a Nerf gun when they hit you. The hit scanners are often put in quite far away places, which make them very hard to hit. It's either that or they get put in really large groups that melt you instantly. And when they do get put further away, it's pretty cruel of the game, seeing as it's quite hard to hit them, and they can still hit you pretty good, without losing much damage. In terms of revenants, they are literally everywhere. I do agree with the sentiment that there's more revenants in Plutonia than there is imps. Of course, like everyone else, I haven't counted this or even researched it, I just watched Civi11's video. Archviles are also extremely common and used in very cruel ways as well. See, in Doom 2, they weren't really that common, they didn't really show up that often because the game developers were nice. However, despite the evil usage of these, I do think the game developers were very smart with how they used archviles. I mean, they are all beatable, you can beat them, however they are very, very difficult, and they take you by surprise a lot of the time, which is a compliment to the game developers, I think. That also leads us into talking about the traps of the game, because the traps are... Take this one for example. I got right to the exit of this level. It stopped me by spawning an archvile in front of me, and another one, and a bunch of revenants. That's the kind of stuff you can expect to see in Plutonia. However, I did play this game on its hardest difficulty, and one of the developers of the game did in fact say that he doesn't have any sympathy for people complaining about the game being hard, whilst also playing on the hardest difficulties, as that is the point of it. So in conclusion, yes, Plutonia is like putting your hand into a KFC deep Maybe the sentence I said earlier on that I can't bother to repeat was true. No, that's a bit of an exaggeration. The game is hard, but it's not nearly as hard as people say it is on the internet. It's a difficult game, sure, but it is manageable, and I think personally it's completely fair. But if you want more games that are as challenging or more challenging than Plutonia is, then I recommend you watch the video appearing right here.